So you're very welcome, everybody, and as usual, I'm grateful to be here because it's just such a wonderful experience. You know, you were asking me, like, what is it like to be here? And it's just a lovely opportunity to share so as I can learn, you know, and it's remembering that we are one, and that's what it keeps coming to me, you know, let's get together and join as one. We're one without being here, and that's the good news. But it's remembering that that's what this is about, you know, and that we'll hear what we're supposed to hear, you know. That's okay. Just, you know, allow yourself to be present, and whatever it is, whatever reason you're here for you, it will happen. It will happen if you allow it to happen. So I just went with the flow and just got my things, and you could feel it. And it was only after a little while of it that it dawned on me. I said, wow, this is nice. This is lovely. And I was about 10 minutes on the motorway, and I forgot the camera. You know, so normally, no matter what good state we're in a normal place, you know, and you kind of would say, oh shucks, you know, I forgot the camera. But I didn't. I just turned the car around, and I didn't know where I was going. I ended up on the square, and I came back down, and went back into the driveway, and got my camera, and back into the car. And my son was so good, you know, I was asking him how to get to Dublin. He says, well, on Saturday night, and you don't know how to get there. I said, no, because my other son said, just keep driving for 2 hours and then follow directions. So he said, yeah, that's right. But he said, he took my phone. He says, you've got sat-nav on your phone. So it was amazing. I'm getting used to all these new technologies. I just press the button and wow. Just follow my instructions is what the course is telling us. You know, just follow the instructions. I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you. So that was my sat-nav. I made the decision with God to do whatever it is I needed to do. And I just sailed in there. It was beautiful, and I sailed back. I went down one way, I came back again. And because Margaret said to me, did you see the mountains and the beautiful? I said, no, I didn't, but I saw loads of beautiful lakes and trees. So I ended up just coincident, you know, without planning it, to come back another way. There were the mountains and the trees. But it's always remembering it. They kind of were conducive, that's the word, to where I was at. They weren't making where I was at. Do you know? That's the difference. So our environment can be conducive to where we're at. And that can be in the right mind or the wrong mind, in fear or love. So I just thought I'd share that with you first of all. So we can create, and we have made, everything from fear. Okay? But we can also, like I described at the beginning, decide with God, decide with the Holy Spirit, surrender. Okay? So, what the law of attraction will do for us, like, you know, the little talk I did on prayer, it will, you know, bring into our experience that what we think about. But the thought is the first thing that comes into movement, and the next thing that comes into the movement is feeling, isn't it? The next thing comes into the experience is the feeling. And the thing about it is it's vast, this, you know, so I'm only going to touch, as Freud would say, the tip of the iceberg of this. So, you know, there's thoughts coming into our experience from our unconscious mind. You know, there's so many different, which is the ego belief system. And that thought is coming into our mind, whether we're aware of it or not, and it's creating the experience through the feeling that we're feeling. So the good news about that is, you know, we can then recognize what the Course in Miracles is telling us is that we can be responsible for that. So what are we attracting into our lives using, you know, where a lot of people are using the law of attraction, they're using this principle, and they're attracting into their lives what they perceive as going to bring happiness into their lives. So what they're attracting into their lives through the law of attraction, and we know from lots of the books that we do read, we won't go into titles or anything like that, but we've all probably touched upon, is that you decide that something is going to make you happy, because without it you feel you're not happy. So if I had that in my life, I'd be happy. So what I need to do is I need to have that in my life to be happy. So the law of attraction. Sorry, just a second.
Sorry.
So we believe that without this thing that we've decided is going to make us happy, we're not happy. So we decide, okay, what I need to do, I've learned about the law of attraction. What I need to do is get that into my life so as I can be happy. And these theories tells us to go and do everything we can do to have this in our lives. So we talk about the boards, we pin it up on our board and we visualize it. And we talk about it and act as if it is in our lives today. So bring it into the present moment. So that was my affirmation, I am happy. That's where I got that from. But, I didn't believe it. So what we go about doing then is saying, okay, something outside myself is going to make me happy. That's what I'm saying. Something outside myself is what I need to make me happy. So I go about, do my visualization, acting as if it's in my life. And what happens? If you're really doing it, we get it, don't we? We get it in some form. And it doesn't make us happy, Because that's the ego belief system. That's the way it works, I've had different stories of people, manifesting and talking about different things, about how they visualized a beautiful coat. And they visualized the beautiful coat, and they kept seeing it, and blah, 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 this beautiful coat. And then they said, oh, we forgot the color. So I got this beautiful blue coat, and the color doesn't suit me. So I got what I wanted, but it's not making me happy. Type of thing. There's so many different stories I have of that, my own stories. They're amazing. But and I learned this principle a long time ago, when I was studying yoga, because yoga means union with life, and there's a philosophy with yoga is to unite with life as the movements we do, become one with yourself, become one with God. But also that the yoga I was studying with, there was a philosophy with it. And it was saying everything that we think about is what we manifest, because yoga is a thought, yoga is a movement, it's a thought. And I began to teach it in the yoga I was teaching. I got people to go home and visualize. And you wouldn't believe the stories I heard. People got stories like doors into their conservatory. They were visualizing this person actually, talk about her. She was visualizing this new door she wanted, but it was like, let's say, €1,000, and the one she could afford was 400. So she was going on holidays, and she came back to the class and said, I'm doing all this, nothing's happening. So she went on her holidays, and she said, it's not working. And then when she came back of her holidays, she actually rang me. I said, come back to the yoga class next week. She couldn't wait to tell me, and she was shivering the other end of the phone. She said, oh my gosh, the door that I was visualizing is in the door, because she got the people to do it when she was away, to get away from the dust. And how it actually happened was the people who were fitting her door from the window properly had 2 doors to fit. So they had the one door that she really wanted and the one that she didn't want but was getting. So they went to her house first, and they took the door out that was for the other house and put it in her place. And then they went to the other house where the person was there, and they said, that's not the door we want. And they went, oops. So because it was so much trouble and so much effort and inconvenient for her, because she wanted it done when she was on her holidays, they said, we apologize. We're really sorry. I'm even getting goosebumps now talking about it. I'm really sorry for your inconvenience and everything. If you wish, we'll change it for you. But if not, And she said, no, it's okay. And that's a true story from somebody not too far from her. And there's so many other ones. So it's just a reminder that our thought, is the process of creation. And we create it through the feeling. And that's what I was asking her to do. Think about what you want. Feel, what would it be like if you had it in your life? So she felt what it would be like. She was seeing it and so on and so forth. Okay. So that's what's happening. We're creating from in this door, she would be happier. And of course it made her happier for a while, didn't it? We all know about those ice creams and, different things, that lovely, the girls, that nice dress. And the guys, I don't know, that nice suit. It will be satisfying for a certain period of time, but what does the ego do?
Gets fed up with it, probably.
And wants
another thing.
Hierarchy of things.
Hierarchy. It wants more. That's what the ego says all the time. More. And I've worked with different people, and you hear it all the time. You work with them, and you get them to a certain place, and then, if she got a different job now, it would be great. Or if she, did this, it would be great. Or if he did that, it would be great. Or if he went to university. I really want him to go to university, and now he's going to whatever. Oh, I want this for him now, or I want this for her now. It wants more and more all the time. I'm sure you've come across people like that. There's other people, doing their house up, and they're constantly doing their house up, and doing their house up, and doing their house up, and I listen to kids, and they say, with friends, I do everything, and it's never enough. It's never enough. And you hear that other saying, jump high, higher, higher in relationships. Keep jumping higher, just a little bit higher, please. So it always wants more. That's what we need to be aware of. And that means, what is it telling us now? That happiness cannot be found outside ourselves. Happiness comes from within. So I just want to see if I can read something here, just to help us understand what I'm saying a little bit more. So what we're learning is that the only true happiness that we can ever find and experience is the happiness that God's will has for us, and that is perfect happiness. And where is that? That is within. And nothing can make it outside ourselves. Nothing can give us this happiness other than to know, begin to believe in the truth, begin to want the truth. And that's what I learned from last month's experience was, where am I deciding? When I'm deciding I want something outside myself to make me happy, where am I making that decision from?
Where you go, mind?
Yes. My fearful mind, my lacking mind. It's always lacking. It's always wanting. It's always yearning. And why is it doing that? It's doing is to keep us in the illusion. I'm keeping myself in the illusion every time I tell myself that something outside myself is going to help me to feel better. And they are the idols, aren't they? And what it says in the Course is that the idol is there, so we're so busy looking at that we forget to look beyond it. And what's beyond it? So the idol is the veil. That's what it's telling us in the Course. The idols are the veil. So while I'm looking at the idols, I can't see anyone else. So if we just remember that and remind ourselves of that all the time, we cannot see beyond the idols. We just have to remind ourselves of that. And that happiness, true happiness, perfect happiness is beyond that. It's a trick, isn't it? We really can be tricked by the ego mind. And it will come back, like it said in the last teaching, was that, all the trials will keep coming back until we have the lesson. So that in itself is a trial. That in itself is a trial, looking in the wrong place for what you want. And it will keep coming back, so the relationship, it will keep coming back. You may divorce that person. You say, yay, I'm free. And if I'm still looking for something outside myself and still remembering that I'm living for my fearful mind, my judgmental mind, still remember that I'm projecting, then I'll be free. But if I'm not, I will go right back into a relationship that's going to be the perfect way for me to project all my own guilt all over again. And every one of us, we've probably done it, but we haven't. We know people who do it all the time. And it's the same with anything. It's the same with addiction. There's a part of us knows. That's what's happening with the Course in Miracles. It's waking us up. It's waking us up to remember that that's just a distraction. That's what we're talking about. It's the law of attraction. It's the law of distraction. That's all it is. It's distracting us from what we're looking for. It's distracting us from what we're looking for. And we're all so busy distracting ourselves, aren't we? We're so busy distracting ourselves from what is really available to us. And I'll just read something here and see how I go with this, okay? Because it made sense earlier. Okay, let's see. So it's grandeur versus grandiosity. That's what I was drawn to about this. And that's what we're looking for when we're looking for the perfect relationship, the Porsche, the perfect house, perfect family, perfect whatever it is the grandiosity of it. How it makes us feel for that particular time, the nice coat, the designer labels, and all these sort of things. Let's see what it says. Grandeur is of God and only of Him. Therefore it is in you. Therefore it's in you. Whenever you become aware of it, however dimly, you abandon the ego automatically. Because in the presence of the grandeur of God, the meaninglessness of the ego becomes perfectly apparent. When this occurs, even though it does not understand it, the ego believes its enemy has struck. And it tends to offer gifts to induce you to return to its protection. Self-inflation is the only offering you can make. The grandiosity of the ego is its alternative to the grandeur of God. And then it says, which will you choose? That's very powerful for me. And that's what the idols are doing, inflating us, inflating the ego. Keeping us going until the next thing, and the next thing, and the more, and more, and more, and more. So what are we supposed to do? We can remember what Jesus tells us all the time, of course. And that is, choose again. Choose again. And, the amazing thing, what I said first is that, there's the other things about what I wanted to say about the law of attraction. With those thoughts, the thoughts are creating feelings, and the feelings are creation. Our feelings are creating. So we're either creating with fear or love. That's very important for us to know. That's what he's telling us here with grandeur. Is it grandeur or grandiosity? Do we want to inflate the ego or feel the extension of God's love in our lives? And the good news is that we can have joy because it talks about the happy dream, doesn't it? So as soon as we stop looking outside ourselves and decide to allow ourselves the blessing of the beautiful love of God, the beautiful will of God, which is perfect happiness, we begin to feel that. We begin to feel that peace, that love, and that is creating. That is creating. Not changing. Remember about perception? It's not changing anything. So when I was driving down to Dublin and in all sorts of different areas of my life, our surroundings become conducive to how we're feeling. We don't need it. but it's in alignment with that beauty from light that we are. And it's for, you know, every single one of us. You know, we are one. We're one mind. So when we're in the right mind, in the beautiful mind of the Holy Spirit, the holy mind, love, then that's what we're going to experience. And that's what keeps coming to me as well, is open our minds. And how do we do that? Is we empty our minds. That's how it was said to me, and I thought it was right for me to understand it. Empty our minds and open our hearts. Because we are so much love, you know, as my little 4-year-old taught me. Big love. Big love. And you know that story, I don't know if any of you have heard of it, and I'll tell you again because I've told it a few times. But I forgot to say in that movement that day, you know, when we were experiencing the beautiful presence of love, there was a little 1.5-year-old as well in the situation. The one thing I say to her is, how much do I love you? I say to her. And I taught her to say, big, big, big time, you know. And that's all. She's 1.5 years. That's all she would know. You know, the question, you know, worded that way would prompt the response. So after, you know, the beautiful 4-year-old teaching me so many principles about love and forgiveness, that forgiveness is love. Where there's love, there's no need for forgiveness. Where there's no judgment, forgiveness is taking place. Just love. Just acceptance. And this little 1.5-year-old, I said to her, because I was asking you all this, and just before we finished up, I thought that she was joining in, she never once ran off anywhere. Because you know, 1.5, it's like here. She was going, wee, and having fun with us. And I said, what about you? Have you a message for me? And she said, big, big, big time. How would she know? How did she know that you know, that way that I asked the question wasn't the same way as I would normally ask her, but for some reason or other she was associating, we are one. You know what I mean? We're not separate. We're not complete just because we have little bodies. Or incomplete, sorry. Just because we're little bodies. We're not pure intelligence, pure love just because. So she was a perfect channel for the truth. And that's what she said. Love, big time. That's where it's at. That's where freedom is at. Freedom, love. Just being present. So, and what I'm doing here, and you're all so good, Mary isn't here today, is we're just going through this as best we can, going right through it, and then, you know, just feel whatever questions you have. You know, if you want to ask them now, you know, that's fine. But, you know, if you wanted to have questions, we could, you know, stop for a while, okay, and see if there are any questions now. I was going to say afterwards, but I feel now's a good time. No, I miss Mary.
Yes, indeed.
I miss her anyway, you know, she's on to me, so she's saying she's so sorry she can't be here, she's at a wedding. Any questions? Anything coming up for you?
Yeah, well,
Thanks.
just as you were talking about looking outside yourself,
Yes.
it's just funny that you're talking about all that, because I'm just after finishing reading a book about, it just came back to me again about attachment and looking for the things outside yourself to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's ironic that you're talking about that today, because that's all going on within me now the last couple of weeks. So just have to, you know, like I was saying to Marie before everyone came, about being swept back up into the world again and into the ego mind over the last few days. You kind of hit a wall and you forget about all of this.
Since the last Sunday I was here, I've gone downhill big time.
Yeah.
You know, the saying that you fall off your horse, I think I've been on the ground all the time.
Yeah.
You just need to go through many periods where it all goes wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then the confusion sets in, and then I was saying to me that certain situations came up over the last few weeks, and you're getting swept back up into all the negativity and all the ego feelings, and then I caught myself, you know, you're catching yourself and you're saying, what am I doing after all the stuff that I've learned?
Yeah.
But instead of turning in anger on myself, I just, like, the fact that I was able to ask myself, what are you doing, was a gift, because it really does, like, it reminded me that I can see myself doing certain things and saying certain things, behaving certain ways. So it's a gift to be able to ask yourself, what am I doing? So you're catching yourself and all of that, and then just, you know, this is all reminding me now to really look at all the things that I'm looking for outside of myself for happiness, and to think that I won't be complete without them. And so it's obviously meant to be here today.
There's a tendency to become despondent.
Yeah.
It's 4 years since we first came
And
to
us too,
but
yeah.
the book probably a year or two before that, probably a year before that. And you wonder, like, the measurement of how far you've come or how far you've gone backwards. It's like the, you know, it's like the yo-yo.
Yeah.
I think that's
And you know,
I
Joe, that's what I was saying to Haley, and I'm just going to say it again. It's great. Was that, you know, when we're in situations like that, which I feel for myself and for other people that I've been around, when we get to a situation like that and we just feel we're in the bad place again and we're in pain, is just like what you said, going back up and down like a yo-yo. But the good news is, what I feel for me is, from looking back and, you know, learning from other people that I see as well, and I always reassure myself, and I feel it's the truth, that we don't actually go back. You know, if I've learned, you know, 1 and 1 equals 2, I may get to that point, I may get, you know, stand, but I always remind myself, I still know that 1 and 1 equals 2. And that's what Haley was saying. That's the difference, that she was able to say to herself, what am I doing here? Which is the observer. You know, she was able to use the observer, and that's what's Savior, that's the Holy Spirit's voice. You know? So the ego would say, oh look, after all this study and all this thing that you're
Well, I did have that moment as well where I was going, here, I'm just useless now. I should be a Course in Miracles student. I'm just throwing it all out the window, everything I've learned over the last few years. And getting swept back up into all the, you know, old ways of thinking and acting and behaving. And
then you try and pick up the book and you just can't read
yeah,
it. You just
talk about that resistance,
Yeah.
like there's cobwebs on my book.
Yeah,
It was covered in dust, I'd so much of it.
You know, well, a physicist, Stephen Hawkins lately, and
Yes.
he was asked a question about God in the class, and he says, that's only for people who are afraid of the dark, this kind of stuff. So there's going to be a period that I went through that all of these guys will come out saying the same things, and then a friend of mine came out with there lately, he says, we're absolutely stupid to think that there is a God, that sometimes it is pure chance, just has happened and that's it, and get on with your life and accept that. And you meet all these things along the way, and they tend to have that corrosive element on you. And then you tend to go into a period where you go to this valley period where you're judging and you go back and you're attacking again, and so on and so on. So I don't know whether other people are the same, but I'm just unique and that's it. You know?
You're not on your own.
You're not.
I'm kind of glad to come along here today, because I need to purge myself again, you know.
That's why we're here.
It's brilliant, and we need to do that to ourselves. And we know that the book, you know, when we pick it up, even if we read three lines, you know, it's so powerful. You know, it's so full of love, and it will help us. You know, so that's what I was talking about last month, which was very strong for me. You know, was, am I practicing the ideas? Because it's in the practice that we'll find out if we're true. You know, because we won't if we don't, you know. And it's a great opportunity to exercise the principle of complete forgiveness. You know, and I did that, you know, so much, and I'm doing it. That's what I just use. As soon as I feel the pain, I recognize, you know, saying, where is this coming from? Okay, and I was saying down in another talk that, you know, sometimes for me, I go back the line. Well, this is because, you know, that didn't happen. I say, okay, where is that coming from? This is my projection of guilt. This is my fear. Where is that coming from? It's coming from sin, and it's coming from my belief in separation. So I kind of, for me, go back the line for a while, you know, as soon as I can say, okay, upset for the reason I think I am. I'm never upset for the reason I think I am. So, okay, if it's not this, what is it? So I come back down the line and then it says, oh, I remind myself, I am feeling this pain because I believe I'm separate from God. I believe I've sinned and separated myself from God, and that's the sin. So I hand this illusion over to you next time.
But I believe that sometimes, and other times I don't.
But you know, it doesn't, you don't have to believe it.
I
It's
know,
not
I
weakness.
know. And as you said, you were seeing a lot of stuff now about God not being real and all. And I'm seeing that lot of thing about aliens now, that aliens made us.
I find it tells me, it's like, oh, of course miracles isn't real. It's not working for you, like, give it up.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of step back and go, no, it is working. But the resistance,
Okay,
more
it's your
working
doubt,
can be
whatever
resistance.
level of doubt you
Yeah.
have, it works on that level of doubt and tries to
Yeah.
expand
It
it.
shows everything on
Yeah.
you.
You always come back after it, but when you're in the middle of that, it's, you know, it's...
But then people talk about meditation, the wonderful experience to have meditation. The last Sunday here, I had a good experience meditating because for me, meditation is sit down and before you know it, your mind is dealing with problems that are there, and other issues and so on, along the way. And then you meet people, oh, then I got this overview and this complete total insight. I know, I understand it. Jesus, nothing like that ever happens. Like, even if just a little glimpse sometime, you know, and you say, give us a break, you know. And I'm all there and all having it over there and I'm having nothing over here, you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was so good. You did say that, Joe, last
Throw the
last
hands
month.
up.
You did say that last
I did,
month.
yeah, I
did
must
have
admit that
feeling.
it was
It's
a
wonderful.
wonderful,
It's
nice, peaceful moment I got for a few minutes. Jesus, made me touch it then. Scratching the surface here, you know. Yeah, along the way.
And just to say to you again, remember that what it says in the beginning of the book, we don't have to believe the ideas, you know, so you're saying, I don't, you know, it happens to us, I don't know if I believe this or not. Well, just remind yourself, I don't have to. I don't have to. I'm just going to practice complete forgiveness. I don't have to believe it. I don't have to accept it. You know, I mean, and historically, I may actively resist, whatever it says that. But it tells us to, you know, to practice the idea. And that's how you find out. That's all we need to do is practice the ideas. We don't need to understand. We'll just read this and this right now and see if this will, see what's going on here. Behind the search for every idol lies the yearning for completion. Wholeness has no form because it's unlimited. To seek a special person or a thing to add to you to make yourself complete can only mean that you believe some form is missing. And by finding this, you will achieve completion in a form you like. This is the purpose of an idol, that you will not look beyond it to the source of the belief that you are incomplete. Only if you had sinned could this be so. For sin is the idea you are alone and separated off from what is whole. And thus it would be necessary for the search for wholeness to be made beyond the boundaries of limits on yourself. It never is the idol that you want. It's quite opposite. So when we want something, the relationship, the car, the holiday, the experience, just remind yourself, it's not this that I want, but what you think it offers you. And that's the feeling. I want to feel peace. I want to feel happy. I want to feel fulfilled. That's what we want. We want to feel what it is to be who we are. You want indeed and have the right to ask for it. Nor could it be possible for it to be denied. Your will to be complete is but God's will. And this is given you by being His. God knows not form. He cannot answer you in terms that have no meaning. And your will could not be satisfied with empty forms, made but to fill a gap that is not there. It is not this you want. Creation gives no separate person and no separate thing the power to complete the Son of God. What idol can be called upon to give the Son of God what he already is, what he already has? So it's reminding ourselves that, and a lot of people have talked about this before, in situations, and they get a little bit frustrated with this because they say, look, I want the Porsche, I want the good relationship, I want, the holiday. But I do always say back that what I've learned and what Course in Miracles is telling me is, you want what you think it's going to do for you. You want what you think it's going to, how you're going to feel when you have it in your life. That's what you want. And the good news is you can have it. That's all I'm saying to you, I'd say. All I'm saying to you is you can actually have that without the Porsche. You can have that without the idea of a special relationship that's going to give you specialness and make you feel good forever long. You decide you're going to allow it to make you feel good. So it's reminding ourselves of that. I find in my life, if there is any pain or anything like that, usually that's what it takes me back to. I want something, I think I'm deprived. It says in the Course, depression comes from the idea of being deprived of something. That's what it says. It's the idea of feeling that I'm deprived of something. So what the Course is telling me, and what the Holy Spirit, what Jesus is telling me, is that I am the peace that I'm looking for. I am peace that I'm looking for. And that is the I, the Holy Mind. It's not the small letter. It's not the ego. That's the complete opposite. What it is that I'm looking for is within my mind. It's within my mind. And it's asking us to be still. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am peace. Be still and know that I am perfect happiness. Be still and know that I am love. And that's what love is. Love is God. And that's, in that movement to get there, what we find is what it says, tells us in the Course in Miracles, is the happy dream. So it's be in the world but not of the world. I think that's for me what the happy dream is. Being in the world and not of the world. So we can be joyous, we can be happy, we can enjoy our friends, we can enjoy our things, but knowing at a very deep level that if it wasn't there, I wouldn't be missing anything. It's just conducive with my peace. And when we are in situations where we are undoing, when we get opportunities as we need to see them as I was saying to Leah earlier, help me to see this differently.
And that's the question I kept asking myself in certain situations, but I just couldn't see it differently.
Yes,
I'm so swept up in old ways that I couldn't break out of it.
Yeah. But you're here.
Yeah, I'm here.
And that's the choice. Where do I make this decision from to here? So that's the good news, isn't it? And time is an illusion, and that's the good news. If time's an illusion, it's never too late. To help me see this differently. It's never too late. It's the good news. So what we need to remember is that if I'm in a situation like this that I'm projecting, I can see it quite clearly. I'm feeling pain here. I operate the beautiful blessing and gift of forgiveness. I don't have to believe it. I just have a tool here. I'm going to use it. And I have used it in times where it was like, point where, I was using it, and maybe you might use that, so I use it with people I work with, is to breathe it out. I was walking through a shopping centre, just said, I have to do this. I was reminding myself what it was, and this is what I did. So, okay, I'm just going to say it because that's what I do. Is I recognize where it's coming from. It's coming from my belief in separation. Okay, I go back, and then I use the tool, the beautiful gift that the Course of Miracles has given me, on the understanding of true forgiveness, which is to be responsible for it. Okay, be responsible for what it is that I'm experiencing. I'm projecting this. It's all mine. It's in my mind. I had to tell myself, this is in my mind. So I need to own it. I've been told I need to be responsible for it. And I always use the word have responsibility, because we associate be responsible kind of with a reprimand. I just have the beautiful gift of responsibility in my life. It's empowering. Because I say, if I own these glasses, if I own them, if I'm fully responsible for them, means I own them, now I have choice. Now I have choice. Now I can hold on to them, or I can remove them off the cosmic pain. I can hand it over to the Holy Spirit. That's what the Holy Spirit's job is, if you like. Very grateful, delighted for these gifts. And what I was doing was to help me just, I physically I was breathing it out. Because it was painful. It was painful. I was like, breathing it out, like we did in one of the workshops, Breathe out the blocks to the awareness of the presence of love. I didn't have to believe it, but I'm going to practice it. And my affirmation was, I am sinless, I am guiltless, I am fearless, I am as God created me.
You had your voice on nowhere now.
Yeah, of course it would. Yeah, it will be there all the time. But just, be consistent with that. You don't have to believe the ego's voice either. That's the good news. And, it will be there. And, I do give another example. I want to give this example for you, okay, that I use. But they're the affirmations I do, and complete forgiveness. And, as far as I know, it worked. I had such an amazing experience of that kind of, and that was 3 weeks I had that. I had that pain. I've talked about it to a few different people in a few different situations. But I was ready. Just say that to yourself. I was ready to see that. You like to call it that pain. And I had an opportunity to allow it to be used by the ego and bring me down further into the nightmare, the dream. Or I could have used it for freedom. I chose freedom, I chose peace. I chose to use something that told me I could use that would free me. So I said, okay, I'm going to use it. And that's what I got, was freedom. And I had an amazing experience, I went to bed and I was thinking, wow, how much longer? How much longer is this going? And I said, I'm willing to hand everything over to you. I surrender this completely. Because it's always, when I do that, I always remember how much we're controlling it and we don't even realize we're going to fix it. I can do this. And I had this beautiful experience of, beautiful peace. And I only read it recently in here. I had it, and then that was a year ago, and I read it in here recently. And it said, you dream of peace first, and then you'll experience it. That's what I actually did on a physical level. I was asleep, and I was turning and moving, in the peace, and I was asleep. And then I woke up to it. And I was there, just bathing in this pure peace that I am. So I know it's there. And then the next thing, funnily enough, was I was bathing in this peace. I don't know, time was just gone. And then the next thing I experienced was I just began to giggle. So I just was giggling at it. I didn't know what I was giggling at. And of course it says, you know, we forgot to laugh. And then I just was laughing. I just couldn't stop laughing. You know, I suppose I was healing itself. So just for you, you know, that it did work for me. But with the thoughts, remember what we're saying is the thoughts is what we're talking about today. The thought is the first thing, and then the feeling will follow. Okay, so I can't do it. Then I feel weak. You know? And what I say to people with those thoughts, you're saying the ego thought will come in, and I work this for myself and others, and I use the thoughts, the kind of analogy of the thoughts knocking on the door, the ego thoughts knocking on the door. And what I do with those thoughts that you're talking about is I answer the door, and I say, no need. And I close the door. You see, what people were coming back to me, and that's how I found I said, I sat down, I put my feet up, like you told me, to meditate, and I relax and everything. And I was bombarded with fear and thoughts and everything. I was like, what's this about? You know, and then I realized, because it's kind of habits we get in. So that's what they normally did. To worry about whatever it is and to bring themselves into pain, they sat in that chair, and that's what they did. So they just happened like what they normally did. And the thoughts will rush in and say, oh, you're ready to listen to me, you know. You're terrible, you're no good, you're useless, you're doing it wrong, you shouldn't be doing the Course in Miracles, and all these sort of thoughts. And what we do is we entertain them and we'll, you know, say, okay, is that thought right? That's me. You know, but what I'm asking of myself to do is to recognize where those thoughts are coming from. And that was another lesson I learned. It said, when I hear that I'm not who I have been told I am, just recognize where it's coming from. Where is that coming from? What mind is that that's speaking to me? Is it the voice of love? Would it say that to you? Is it the voice of fear? So for me, what I do is I see it's knocking on my door. So fear is knocking on my door. And I go to the door and I say, I recognize where you're coming from. You know? You're coming from fear. But I am not going to listen to you anymore. It's okay. I close the door. And what happens with the thoughts, the way it came to me, this analogy, which works really well for me, is it's such a habit that when you sit down, you knock again, don't they? So just imagine if it's somebody that's coming to your door that wants to harm you. That's not coming from love. And they were used to you letting them in and hurt you. So what you do to that is you answer the door and you say, I recognize you now. I'm not inviting you in today. And just close the door and your back and sit down and say, hold on a second. And knock again, because it's habit. And you just say, I recognize you. So what I say is, if you don't want to think about an elephant, and you keep saying to yourself, I don't want to think about an elephant, I really don't want to be listening to this, I really don't want to do what this elephant is telling me to do, I don't want to think about you, I don't want to have you in my life, if that's it, you know, you're not welcome and all these sort of things, then what are you focusing on? The elephant. So what I say is, I just say to the elephant, you know, no thank you, and I go and I think about something else. I would switch back into love. What would love say to me? And what happens is, think about it on a normal level, as we say, if somebody's knocking on your door and every time you answer the door you're saying no thank you, eventually they will probably look at your door. And the good news, as I say to people, is if they see other people coming up to knock on your door from fear, they kind of say, well, we tried, but it doesn't seem to be entertaining us anymore. So the good news is that will actually have an effect on the other thoughts. Because it was one of your strongest ones. And it will, you know, spread the word. So it's just remembering, you know, where am I thinking those thoughts from? and believing that you are what you're looking for. You are everything. You are complete and fulfilled within. And allowing yourself to practice the principles, of course. And when you hear a thought, ask yourself, where is this thought coming from? Fear or love? And remind yourself that that is actually creating the experience. And that the idols that you think are going to bring you happiness are just a distraction. It's just delaying time. Just to finish off, for now, could I check the time, please?
It's 3:05.
Everybody all right, yeah? Great. Next. Okay. This is beautiful. I like this. What does it say? It says the attraction of love for love. Isn't that beautiful? The attraction of love for love. So it's just to check in with this, like it's kind of related to what we were talking about. So let's see first. If you seek love in order to attack it, you will never find it. For if love is sharing, how can you find it except through yourself and through itself? Offer it and it will come to you. So that's like, in a way, what I'm saying is, what are you thinking about? Where is this thought coming from? Is it from love? If it is, and you're focusing on it, then it will come to you. It will be your environment. Because it is drawn to itself, it says. It's drawn to itself. Love is drawn to itself. But offer, attack, and love will remain hidden. Okay? So if you offer attack, love will remain hidden, for it can live only in peace. Okay, so if we're not aligned with it, with our thoughts, with our feelings, then we won't experience it. Because it will only be in the place of peace. God's Son is safe as his Father, for the Son knows his Father's protection and cannot fear. His Father's love holds him in perfect peace and needing nothing. He asks for nothing, yet he is far from you whose self he is. For you chose to attack him and he disappeared from your sight into his slumber. He did not change, but you did. For a split mind and all its works were not created by the Father and could not live in the knowledge of him. So, what this reminds me of about, attraction of love for love. It's an example I came across. And it's about having a pet. Okay, I don't know if you ever came across this analogy. And usually a pet shows unconditional love. So this analogy I came across was the dog was in the home, and every evening that the master came home, the dog would run with unconditional love to greet its master, full of love and acceptance and joy, because he was just so happy. And what the master did was attack him, just like this is talking about. The master would kick the dog out of the way and scold him and give out to him. And this unconditional love kept coming back. So the key would turn on the door, which was the trigger, and the dog would run, wagging his tail and all happy to see its owner, and the owner would attack the dog. So what happened with the dog was that when it heard, after a period of time of attacking this love, when the dog heard the key turning in the door, it would cower under the table, afraid to go out. And that's what it's saying with love. you're not in alignment with it, and you're searching outside yourself for the idols, and attacking yourself in a situation where it's really an opportunity to love yourself, then you won't experience the beauty that you are, the beautiful love that you are, the light that you are. Perfect happiness is within, and that's what we need to go for it. That's so good to know, isn't it? So we can stop that exhausting search and be willing to practice the ideas that we hear in the Course, so as we can find peace within ourselves that's there, and so as we can remember that what we seek, we are. And as we know, the ego would say, seek and do not find. So the ego just wants more all the time, more. And love, all love knows is to be complete and fulfilled as it is. So I'll just leave it at that for now. I'm going to take a break. Is that okay?
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay.